Welcome to Sleep Haven. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. You don't have to do anything now. Tonight, something rare and gentle is going to happen in Willowmere, and all you have to do is be there when it does. The night train, the one that passes through the valley in the dark and never, ever stops, is going to stop. Once, softly, for one traveler, and then the town will fold itself around her the way it folds around everyone who arrives after dark, and you will follow her all the way from the platform to a warm bed under the eaves, and somewhere along that walk, without meaning to, you'll fall asleep. There is nothing to remember. There is nothing to solve. The rain is already falling, thin and kind, and the station lamp is already lit. Everything that needs doing tonight has already been done by someone who loves doing it. Come down to the edge of town, where the last lamp gives way to the dark of the valley, and the rails run away in both directions, shining faintly, like two long threads of wet silver. Listen, under the rain there's a deeper quiet, the particular quiet of a place that is almost always empty and perfectly content to be so. This is the railway halt at Willowmere, and tonight is the night the train stopped. The halt is not a grand station. It has one platform, made of old timber gone silver gray, just long enough for two carriages if the driver is thoughtful about it. It has one bench, with a roof of overlapping wooden shingles that the rain plays like a very patient drummer. It has one lamp, iron-footed, glass-headed, which Tobias the lamplighter lights on his first round, and which burns with a steady amber heart until morning. And it has one small brick house at the end of the platform, hardly bigger than a garden shed, with a stovepipe chimney and a window full of warm light, and that is where Mr. Pole lives with his kettle. Mr. Pole is the station master. He has been the station master for 31 years, and in those 31 years, the night train has stopped at Willowmere exactly 9 times. He can tell you each one, slowly, the way other men recall snowfalls or comets. He does not mind that his station is mostly a place where trains do not stop. Somebody has to keep the lamp lit. For the ones that do, inside the little brick house there is a stove, banked low and ticking. There is a chair with a cushion shaped exactly like Mr. Pole. There is a shelf with the timetable on it, a thin brown book. And if you opened it to the right page, you would find Willowmere listed in small letters, with a note beside it. Request stop, seldom made. Mr. Pole likes that line. Seldom, he has often said to the cat, is not the same as never. The kettle sat on the stove's edge, keeping its warmth the way the town keeps its habits, quietly and without fuss. 2 cups stood ready on the shelf. Mr. Pole had set out the 2nd cup at dusk, for no reason he could have told you, except that some evenings feel like company is coming, and a station master learns to trust his platform the way a sailor trusts the sky. The rain went on, even and soft, stitching the roof to the night. The word came up the line a little after 10, the way it always came, through the small brass instrument on Mr. Pole's desk that clicked and murmured like a polite cricket. Mr. Pole set down his tea, put on the spectacles he kept on a string, and listened with his head tipped to one side. "Request stop," said the line, in its patient clicking language. "One passenger for Willowmere. The 11 o'clock, down from the north." Mr. Pole took off his spectacles and polished them, which is what he did instead of exclaiming. The 10th stop in 31 years. He looked at the second cup on the shelf, already set out and waiting, and he nodded to it, one professional to another. Then he went about his small ceremonies, and it is a lovely thing to watch a man do something rare that he has kept himself ready to do for years. He trimmed the platform lamp so it burned its cleanest amber. He took the green-glassed hand lantern down from its hook, checked its wick, and lit it so the driver would see from far down the valley that tonight, of all nights, Willowmere was asking. He swept the boards under the bench roof, 6 unhurried strokes, though they were already clean, because a guest was coming and a platform should look its best. And then, because there is a right amount of ready and no more, he went back inside, added one small log to the stove, and moved the kettle to the warm center. Outside on the platform, the green lantern hung beside the amber lamp, the 2 lights doubling themselves in the wet boards below, and the rails ran away northward into the dark, listening. The ginger cat arrived at 10:30, as though word had come up his own private line. He took his seat on the end of the bench, folded his paws, and began to supervise. You hear a night train long before you see it, and what you hear first isn't the engine at all, it's the rails. They begin to sing, very quietly, a thin, silvery hum, like a finger circling the rim of a glass. And the sound seems to come from everywhere along the line at once, from the north and the south, and from under the platform boards, as if the whole valley were clearing its throat to whisper. Mr. Pole came out with his lantern and stood at his mark, a spot on the boards worn slightly smoother than the rest. The cat sat up. The rain fell through the lamplight in fine, bright stitches. Then the light. Far down the valley, where the hills fold over each other like sleepers sharing a blanket, a single pale eye came around the long curve, wobbling gently with the motion of the rails, and behind it the sound gathered itself into the deep, patient breathing of the engine. Huff and huff and huff, unhurried, like a large animal walking a road. It has walked 10,000 times. There is nothing anxious about a night train, whatever you may have heard. By day, trains are all business, but at night, a train becomes a quieter creature. It carries sleeping passengers and mailbags and crates of apples, and it moves through the dark valleys with its lit windows strung behind it, like a row of small yellow rooms out for a walk. And inside those rooms, people doze against the glass and dream in the direction of home. The driver saw the green lantern from half a mile out. Down the line came the answer. One soft, low note of the whistle. Not the daytime blast, but the night voice, rounded and unalarming. A sound that says, without waking a single sleeper on either side of the valley, I see you, Willowmere. I'm coming in. The engine's breathing slowed. The singing of the rails deepened, and the light down the valley grew wide and warm and came on gently through the rain. The train came in the way a big wave comes to a small shore when it has decided to be kind. All its sighs gathered up and hushed. The engine slid past the platform first, warm as a hearth, trailing steam that folded into the rain and became mist among the lamplight. Then the carriages, 1, 2, 3, 4, their windows mostly dark, a few glowing dim gold where night lamps burned over sleeping travelers. The brakes spoke once a long, soft breath, the sound a librarian makes to a room she is fond of. And then, with a last small settling, like a house at midnight, the train stopped. It stood there breathing. Steam rose from it and drifted along the boards. The rain tapped the carriage roofs, and the carriage roofs, warm from the long run, sent the rain back up as the faintest curling mist, so the whole train seemed lightly wrapped in its own sleep. One door opened, just one near the middle, with a click and a sigh. Down came a carpet bag, set gently on the boards. Down came a flat wooden case with brass corners, handled with the special care people reserve for tools they love. And down, last, came the traveler herself. One careful step, then another. A small woman in a good gray coat, rain-speckled, with a soft-brimmed hat, and about her the unhurried air of someone who mends things for a living and has never once been persuaded that hurrying helps. Her name was Miss Elsbeth Crane, and she was a bookbinder. The guard leaned out, made sure of her and her luggage, and lifted his lamp in the old signal. From the front, the engine answered with the gentlest tug of motion, and the train gathered itself and drew away, carriage by carriage, its little golden rooms sliding past her, its steam folding shut behind it. The red tail light went away up the line, growing smaller and cozier, like a coal settling into the back of a grate, and the singing of the rails thinned and hushed. It was not a leaving to be sad about. The train had somewhere to be, and it went there contentedly, carrying its sleepers onward through the dark. And the halt returned to its quiet, except that now there were 2 people and a cat inside it, which for Willowmere Station was very nearly a festival. "Miss Crane," said Mr. Pole, and touched the brim of his cap. "Welcome to Willowmere. You're the 10th. The 10th? The 10th stop in 31 years. He said it the way a man shares a good thing, shyly, holding it out with both hands. I keep the count. Then I'm honored to be a round number, said Miss Crane, and the 2 of them smiled the small mutual smile of people who are going to get along without any trouble at all. The cat stepped down from the bench, walked the length of her luggage with his tail up like a question mark that had found its answer, sniffed the brass corners of the wooden case and sat down on the driest board, satisfied. Inspections must be carried out, whatever the hour. "That's the town cat," said Mr. Pole. "He belongs to nobody, so everybody belongs to him. You'll be seeing him about." There was tea, because of the second cup. They drank it under the bench roof while the rain drummed its patient shingle song, and the steam from the cups rose to meet the last thinning steam of the departed train. Miss Crane explained, between sips and in no rush, what had brought her. The bookshop's old atlas, the big one, the one that had sat on the reading table for 3 generations and was now coming quietly apart at the spine, as even the best-made things eventually allow themselves to do when they trust the people around them. She had been sent for from 3 towns away to mend it. It would take a week, perhaps a little more. "Good mending will not be hurried," she said, and Mr. Pole nodded deeply, a man who had waited 31 years for 10 trains. The tea was finished. The cups were turned upside down on the shelf to dry. Mr. Pole took up her carpet bag before she could reach for it, and Miss Crane carried the wooden case herself, as she always did, and the cat rose and stretched. First the front of himself and then the back, and led the way because processions need managing. "It's a 10-minute walk to the inn," said Mr. Pole, "and there's no finer 10 minutes anywhere if you like a town asleep." They went out from under the roof into the soft rain, and the platform lamp watched them go. And then the halt was empty again, warm and amber and content, keeping the count at 10. The lane from the halt comes into Willowmere from the east, under 2 rows of lime trees whose leaves, in rain, sound exactly like a distant crowd applauding very politely at something wonderful happening very far away. The lamps begin where the trees end. 41 lamps, Tobias lights, every dusk, and at this hour each one stood in its own gold circle, with the rain falling through the light like grain being poured, slow and endless, from some high dark cupboard of the sky. They walked without hurry, the 3 of them, their footsteps making the 3 softest sounds a street can hold. The stationmaster's boots, certain and slow, the visitor's smaller heels, testing and then trusting each wet cobble, and the cat's nothing at all. Willowmere at night is a town with its eyes closed and its breathing even. The shutters were in. The curtains were drawn, glowing here and there with the last deep orange of banked fires. Chimney smoke came down the street to meet them, washed soft by the rain, smelling of applewood and evenings. Somewhere behind a wall, a dog rearranged himself in his sleep and sighed at the quality of it all. At the corner of Lantern Street, they passed the bakery, and Miss Crane slowed, as everyone slows there, because the smell of a sleeping bakery is one of the kindest smells in the world. Yesterday's bread and tomorrow's dough, warmth and flour and banked embers, all resting behind one small, deep golden window. Inside, the ovens were keeping their overnight council, and 12 bowls of dough were rising slowly under linen, like 12 small moons coming up in no particular hurry. "Almas," said Mr. Pole, in the voice men use for institutions they are proud of. "You'll want a morning roll. Everyone wants a morning roll." At the top of the street, a ladder leaned against the last unlit lamp, and up the ladder was a pair of well-known boots, and above the boots was Tobias, hooking his little flame into the glass head of lamp number 41. The light caught and steadied and spread. He looked down, saw the procession, and did not say anything, because it was late and the street was asleep. But he touched his cap to Miss Crane and nodded to Mr. Pole, and the nod said all the things that needed saying. Evening all. Rare night, this. Train stopped. I heard it. Sleep well. The cat and the lamplighter exchanged the look of two professionals whose rounds have crossed on schedule. And the walk went on, downhill now, gently, the way the whole night was going, toward the river and the bridge and the sign of the Heron's Rest, swinging slow in the rain. They came past the bookshop on the way to the bridge because Mr. Pole judged, correctly, that a craftswoman likes to see her patient sleeping before she meets it awake. The shop was dark, but bookshop dark is its own kind of dark, brown and deep and furred at the edges, like the inside of a violin. Through the window, past the gold lettering that said Iris Dale, bookseller, the shapes of the shelves stood in long, quiet rows, and you could feel, even from the wet street, the particular hush of 10,000 stories all holding still at once. On the reading table in the middle of the room, in the little moonlight the rain allowed, lay the atlas. It was a big book, and it lay closed, the way it had lain for 3 generations of readers, with its cracked spine resting and its cover worn to the softness of old saddle leather by hands and hands and hands. Iris had set it out ready, with clean cloth beneath it, and a note on top that could not be read from the street, but that said, "In a bookseller's tidy hand. For Miss Crane with our thanks. It had crossed no oceans and led no expeditions. It had done something better. It had stayed in one town and shown 4 generations of children where the oceans were." Miss Crane stood at the window with her wooden case in both hands and looked at her patient the way a good doctor looks at a sleeper she will not wake until morning. The spine, even from here, told her its story. Nothing that could not be mended. Nothing that time and glue and linen thread and patience could not set right. A week of quiet work in a warm room. There are worse prescriptions in the world, for a book or for anybody. "Tomorrow," she said to the atlas, through the glass, very softly. The shop did not answer, except in the way that closed rooms full of books always answer, with a silence that feels like being listened to kindly. The cat, who considers the bookshop windowsill to be one of his offices, looked from the woman to the atlas and back, and approved of the arrangement. Tomorrow, then, nothing more tonight. That is the finest thing about tomorrow. It takes every job you hand it, and holds them till you've slept. The inn stands where the street bows down to meet the river, an old longhouse with its shoulder to the bridge, and its sign, a gray heron standing on one leg, swinging slow and creaking sweetly like a porch chair. Its windows at that hour were mostly dark, but the door lamp burned, and under the door itself lay a warm yellow line of light, which is the oldest word for welcome there is. Mrs. Tansey opened before they knocked. Innkeepers on rainy nights have a sense for arrivals, the way Mr. Pole's platform has a sense for evenings when company is coming. "Miss Crane," she said, as if the name were a parcel she'd been expecting all day. "In you come out of that. The fire's still up. The Hall of the Heron's Rest received her the way it has received travelers for 200 years, with warmth that reaches out past the doorstep, with flagstones worn into gentle hollows, with the smell of wood smoke and clean linen and something savory keeping warm against need. The gray coat went up on a hook by the fire. Third peg, the drying peg, where it hung steaming faintly beside the innkeeper's own shawl. Two garments already becoming acquainted. The carpet bag went up the stairs in Mrs. Tansey's grip. The wooden case with the brass corners Miss Crane kept with her, and nobody suggested otherwise, because some things and their people are not to be parted, and an innkeeper knows the look. Mr. Pole would not stay. Station masters sleep beside their stations, as captains sleep near the wheel. He touched his cap at the threshold and went back up the sleeping street toward his platform and his stove and his ledger, where before bed, with the good pen, he would write in a hand as neat as his lamp wick. 11 o'clock stopped by request. One passenger down safe. Rain, all quiet after, all quiet after. 31 years, and there was still no line he liked writing better. There is a room at the back of the Heron's Rest that is not the dining room, which is for daytimes and market crowds, but the hearth room, which is for late arrivals and rainy nights and the last warm hour before bed. It is small. Its ceiling is low and dark as the inside of a bread crust. Its fire had been let down to a deep orange settle, past flames and into glow, the stage of a fire that gives more comfort than light. And before that fire stood one small table, laid for one, because Mrs. Tansey had been laying it on and off since the word came up from the station at 10:30. Soup, barley and carrot and thyme, in a bowl the weight of a small kindness, with steam that rose and curled in the firelight like handwriting too gentle to read. Bread from Alma's morning batch, the heel of it, which is the best of it, with butter from the farm across the bridge, and a small cup of something warm with honey in it for the end. Miss Crane ate slowly, as tired travelers do when the journey is fully over, when there is no more platform to listen for and no further to go. Her wooden case stood against the chair leg, off duty. Her boots were drying at the hearth beside the tongs. The fire ticked and settled, rearranging its coals like a sleeper finding the cool side of the pillow. The rain kept on at the little window, but it had become the kind of rain you hear only when you remember to listen. The rest of the time it is simply the sound the world makes when it is holding you somewhere dry. Mrs. Tansey came and went the way the best innkeepers do, appearing exactly when the bread was low, saying nothing that needed an answer. Late guests must be fed and not interviewed. There would be time across the week for the whole story, told properly, in pieces, over breakfasts. The bookbinding, the towns she'd mended books in, the night the train stopped. Stories keep. That is the entire business of a bookbinder after all, making sure stories keep. The soup bowl emptied itself by gentle degrees. The honey cup followed. The fire let itself down another notch, from orange toward rose, and the room grew that one shade dimmer that means a day has finished being a day. And up the creaking stair they went at last, candle first, guest after, past the sleeping doors of the two other rooms, to the small door at the very top. The door under the eaves. It was a small room, and it was perfect the way small rooms are. Nothing in it that was not wanted. Everything in it within reach of the bed. The ceiling came down on both sides with the shape of the roof, so that standing was for the middle of the room and sleeping was for the sides, which is the right order of importance. The bed was high and deep, with a quilt made by somebody's grandmother in squares of river blue and lamp gold, and it had been warmed. There was a stone hot water bottle down at the foot, wrapped in flannel, radiating the patient heat of a small, tame sun. And in the slope of the roof, directly over the pillow, there was a skillite. Rain on a skillite is the closest thing to a lullaby the sky knows how to write, and it wrote all night. Each drop landed with a small, bright tap, and then joined the others and ran down the glass in slow, silver roads, and through the wet pane when the clouds thinned, came the softened glow of the town's lamps below, and the whole ceiling swam gently with watered light, like sleeping under the surface of a very calm river. Miss Crane unpacked almost nothing, which is the mark of a seasoned traveler. Tomorrow's dress over the chair, the hairbrush to the washstand, the wooden case with the brass corners onto the table under the skylight, squared to the table's edge, tools sleeping in their green felt beds inside, awls and folders and spools of linen thread, each in its place resting before the week's good work. The candle had one job left. She carried it to the bedside, and the room walked along with her in shadows. And when she blew it out, the dark came in the way dark comes in the best rooms, not falling, but settling, like a quilt drawn up by someone kind. The rain went on writing on the skylight. The hot water bottle held its patient warmth against her feet. Below, in the deep of the house, a beam eased itself with a wooden sigh, 200 years old, and still settling in. And the sound was not a strange sound at all. It was the house saying what houses say, in their slow language, to every guest who trusts them with the night. There. Rest now. I've got you. An old inn at night is not silent, and you would not want it to be. It speaks, room to room, in the small, dry voices of its timbers. And if you lie still and listen, the way Miss Crane lay still and listened, you can follow the whole conversation as it makes its slow way around the house. The stair speaks first, always, letting go of the day's footsteps one tread at a time. From the bottom up, a little tick, and a pause and a little tick, like someone counting their savings and finding them all there. Then the landing, with its one long board that has creaked since before anyone living can remember, easing itself by a hair's width and sighing about it. Then the roof, which has the most to say because it carries the rain, a beam here taking the weight a little differently, a rafter there settling deeper into its 200-year-old joint, all of it slow, all of it certain. The sounds of a thing built well by people long gone, still doing exactly what they asked of it. Below in the hearth room, the fire had gone to gray and rose, coals whispering down through the grate one by one, each with a sound as small as a button dropping on velvet. The kettle stood cooling on its hook with a click, now and then, as the metal remembered its shape. Mrs. Tansy's shawl and the gray coat hung together by the chimney breast, both dry now, both warm, keeping each other company in the dark. In the cellar, the barrels rested, doing the slow, patient work that barrels do. In the pantry, the morning's eggs sat in their bowl like a clutch of small moons, and the butter kept its yellow counsel, and the bread bin held its last heel of loaf for whoever needed it first. And through all of it moved the warmth, the day's stored warmth, rising slowly through the old house from cellar to eaves, the way sleep rises through a body, floor by floor, gentling everything on the way, until it reached the little room at the very top, where it gathered under the roof and stayed, holding the traveler like a cupped hand, all night long. The house had done this 10,000 nights. It would do it 10,000 more. Houses like the Heron's Rest are not buildings, really. They are a promise, kept nightly, made of oak and stone and quilt. Come in tired, and I will give you back to the morning rested. And now the town, chapter by chapter, was closing its eyes. At the station, the ledger was written and blotted, and Mr. Pole lay listening to his stove tick, with the platform lamp burning its steady amber outside his window, and the green lantern back on its hook until the next request, whenever, in a year or 3 or 9, the next request should come. He fell asleep counting, not sheep, but stops. 9 and now 10, each one warm in its place in his memory like a coal in a grate. In the signal box down the line, the ginger cat had taken up his night post on the folded jacket that was left there for him, officially by accident years ago. He washed one paw, thought about the evening's inspection, found it satisfactory, and tucked his nose under his tail. On Lantern Street, 41 lamps burned in the rain with nobody to see them, which they did not mind at all. Tobias slept above the chandlers, his boots by the door, his ladder under the stair, dreaming his usual dream, which he has never told anyone, but which those who know him suspect is simply the round again. Lamp after lamp after lamp, each one catching, each one steadying, world without end. In the bakery, the 12 moons of dough came slowly up under their linen. In the bookshop, the atlas lay in the dark with its note on its cover, and if books wait, and they do, it waited the way old patients wait for a good doctor, easily, having heard she was kind. The river went under the bridge, saying the one round word it says, and the rain went on over all of it, roof by roof, evenly, the great gray quiet of it drawn across the valley like a blanket across a shoulder, and the town breathed under it, slow and deep. Every hearth banked, every door latched, every creature on 2 legs or 4, gathered into the one warm dark. And if, in the sleeping bookshop, the old atlas dreamed, and books that have been read by 4 generations do dream, then it dreamed its maps, page by page, in the order a sleeper would want them. It dreamed the near pages first, the valley and the river and the town at the bend of it, no bigger on the map than a watch spring, with its lanes and its bridge and its one thin railway line stitching away to the north. Then the counties, going soft and green into one another, with their rivers like veins in a leaf. Then the coasts, the long, patient coasts, drawn in a fine old hand, every bay named in letters like grains of rice, and the sea beginning, pale as morning, with little engraved ships standing on it, sails full of a wind that has been blowing gently across that page for 100 years, and has never once raised a wave. Then the far pages, mountain ranges lying across their countries like sleeping dogs, deserts the color of biscuit, islands scattered on the wide blue like crumbs brushed from a giant's table, each one with its small, perfect name, each name a place, each place a night sky of its own, and people under it, sleeping, the whole dreaming world of them, held flat and safe between 2 covers, in a dark shop in a small town in the rain. It dreamed the sea roads, dotted lines curving from port to port, across the wide pale blue, each one a journey somebody once thought worth drawing, all of them finished long ago, all their travelers long since home and rested. It dreamed the little compass rose in the corner of every page, that patient flower that only ever says the same 4 quiet things, and says them perfectly and has never once been wrong. And it dreamed the oldest page of all, the one at the very back, worn softest by the most thumbs, the page children always find, the one with the town on it. Because every atlas, however far it ranges, keeps one page that simply says, "And here is where you are. Here is the river. Here is the bridge. Here is home." That is all an atlas is in the end. Proof that the world is very large and that you are somewhere in it, warm, and that both of those things at once is the best arrangement there could bone. The far places hold up their end of the night, and you hold up yours, and yours, tonight, is only this: a bed under the eaves, a quilt of river blue and lamp gold, rain on the glass above you, going on and on and on. Tomorrow the mending begins, linen thread and patience, and the atlas will be made strong again for the next 4 generations. But that is tomorrow's page. Tonight, every map in the world is closed, and every road on every one of them is quiet. Miss Elsbeth Crane slept. She slept the way you sleep at the end of a long journey that has ended somewhere kind, fully and deeply, and without one dream that asked anything of her. The skylight kept its silver roads running slowly above her. The hot water bottle gave up its warmth by patient degrees, hour by hour, holding back just enough for morning. And far to the south by then, miles and valleys away, the train ran on through the night. The same train, her train, the 11 o'clock, with its one pale eye and its little golden rooms, carrying its sleepers onward, huff and huff and huff, along the shining threads of the rails, past other halts and other lamps and other station masters' windows, on its long, unhurried errand of taking everyone eventually home. It did not remember stopping. Trains keep no count. But somewhere in a brown ledger by a ticking stove, the count was kept, and always would be, stopped by request. One passenger, down safe. Rain. All quiet after. All quiet after. The lamps will burn till morning. Tobias will put them out one by one, and the bakery window will come gold, and the atlas will feel the good tools take it gently apart and begin to make it young. But none of that is now. Now is only the rain and the roofs and the river's one round word and the town breathing slow under its gray blanket, and you, warm where you are, with nothing to hold and nothing to carry and nowhere at all to be. The train has gone on. The town has kept you. Sleep now. The rain will keep the watch, and it does all night softly, on every roof in Willowmere, and on the skylight over the room under the eaves, and on the long, empty platform at the edge of town, where an amber lamp burns steady in the wet dark, keeping the count at 10, waiting in no hurry at all for 11. Good night.